Good morning, students. Today we will learn Java language. But before going into the details of this language, let us discuss about some basic concepts, the knowledge of which will help you in understanding Java in a better way. Now, first thing is, what is a language? In our day-to-day life, a language is a medium of communication through which people exchange their thoughts and ideas. Okay. Now, communication to be effective, the two parties or two people involved in this process have to use a common language which is well understood by both of them. Otherwise, communication cannot take place. Okay. In the same way, if we want our program to get executed on the computer system, then we should write our program in a language that computer understands. So, the language that computer understands is known as the computer language. Okay. Now, the second important thing is that, like any other electrical equipments, computer is basically an electronic device, and being an electronic device, it has only two states, that is off and on. Now, from these two states of a computer, or based on these two states, that is off and on, two digits have developed, that is 0 and 1. These are known as your binary digits. Okay, 0 represents the off state and 1 represents the on state. So, any type of instruction that you give to computer in the form of these 0 and 1 is directly understood and directly executed by the computer without any problem, because it is basically an electronic device. Okay. Now, from the day of its invention, computers have evolved a lot, right? Both in the field of hardware as well as in the field of software. But when we are talking about language, our focus is on the software part of the computer system. Now, over the years, as the hardware developed, so also the languages, those were used with the hardware, also developed or changed. On this basis, the computer languages can be broadly divided into two categories, that is your low level language and high level language. Okay, this low level language can further be divided into two types. One is your machine level language and the other one is assembly language. Now let us understand these one after the other. First we will talk about this machine level language. What is this machine level language? Now, machine level language is the language of the computer system itself, right? It consists of instructions made of zeros and ones. So, the instructions that were given into the computer by using these machine level languages were made up of series of zeros and ones, and because computer understands zeros and one directly, so execution of this the programs or instructions given using this machine level language was quite easier for the computer. Computer used to face no problem. But for the user, it was not that difficult to give the code or instruction in the form of zeros and ones. So it was difficult for the user, but it was okay. It was there was no problem for the machine. Okay, but since the user found it difficult, to overcome that difficulty, as assembly language was developed. Now, what happened in the assembly language was some mnemonics were developed. Check the spelling. Mnemonics. Here M is silent. Okay, so some mnemonics were developed. Now what are these mnemonics? Mnemonics were nothing but easy to remember shortcut code for representing some complicated machine instructions. So these were basically easy to remember codes that was substituting the in complicated machine instructions. So when these codes were developed, user found them somehow easier, but for computer it became difficult because computer could not understand these mnemonics. Because why? Because computer only understands everything in form of zeros and ones. Mnemonics were not in the form of zeros and ones. Okay, so then what was the solution? As a part of the solution, a special type of program was developed, and this program was known as the translator program. Right? The job or the work of this translator program was to convert these mnemonics into machine level code or machine code or into machine level language. And once this translation or the conversion is over, then computer could execute this code. Okay, the translator program that was developed for converting this assembly language, that is the mnemonics, into machine code is known as assembler. Okay, but then also the assembly level of these mnemonics were not that easy for the user. So to overcome these all difficulties came the high level languages. And once the high level languages were developed, user found them very easy to understand, to learn and to write program using these languages. The reason is the different instructions, commands or statements that are used in these high level languages are like English words and terms. So for us as user, these languages are very easy. But as you have understood by this time that high level languages were easy for us to understand and master, but they become difficult for the machine to execute often because computer doesn't understand English. Okay, so then what was the solution? The solution was again to develop the translator programs. So for high level language, two types of translator programs were developed. One is your interpreter, the other one is your compiler. The job of these two translator programs are to develop a program written in high level language into machine level language. Okay, and once this translation is done, computer can execute the code. So let me write down the process of the execution of the high level language. Here comes the user's program using any of the high level language, that is also called as source code. You have to remember the term because we will be using these terms frequently. With the help of some translator program, which can be either interpreter or compiler, this high level program gets converted into machine code or object code, right? So once the high level program written in high level language by the user, which is also called as the source code, either with the help of interpreter or compiler, getting converted into machine code or object code, then the computer can work upon that instruction. Okay. Now there are a number of high level languages present nowadays. many are there. To name some, like your basic, COBOL, Pascal, C, C++, and so many are there. And one such high level language is your Java, right? So Java is a high level programming language. Okay, now let us discuss details about the development and the features of Java language. Now, as I was telling you, Java is a high level language. It was developed by Sun Microsystem in the year 1991, and the person responsible for the development of this language was James Gosling. Initially, the name of this language was Oak, but then it was realized that another language already exists with the same name, so they renamed it as Java in the year 1995. This program was renamed as Java. Now there are a number of stories associated with the naming process of this language as Java. Now one of that is the James Gosling and his team members were having one afternoon, they were having a coffee. The name of the coffee was Java, so from there they have given this language's name is Java. So whatever is the reason, the language initially named as Oak, renamed as Java in the year 1995. Now at the beginning, the Java language was developed as a general purpose application programming language which was meant for handling consumer electronic products like TV set-top box. Okay, but during this year, like during 1995, World Wide Web, that is our internet, right, was gaining popularity. So James Gosling and his team members added few more features to this language and extended its applicability in the field of web programming. In the field of web programming, where they developed programs that could run on internet, and those programs were widely accepted or accepted by the web browsers used in those days like Netscape, Navigator and Internet Explorer. Okay, so once these programs developed by using Java, the web programs were well accepted or well executed through these web browsers, Java entered into the field of internet. So you understood that from the simple programming application programming language, Java has extended its application to the field of web programming. Okay, so from this discussion then we can conclude about the types of Java programs. So next what we are going to discuss is types of Java programs. So Java programs then can be divided into two categories. One is standalone application program and applets. Okay, now what is standalone application program? These are the programs, Java programs that are used for solving users specific problem. For example, printing the electricity bill, calculating the result of the student, or calculating the salary of an employee. So basically for solving users particular problem, the type of Java programs Java can be used, and that is called as application programs. Now coming to applets. Applets are the programs that can run on internet. Okay, these are small programs that can be included in a HTML document. You know what is HTML? HTML document, and they can run on internet. Okay. Now, when we are talking about internet, then we know that in an internet there is a main computer called server, to which other computers are connected, right? These connected computers are called as client computers. Like, let us say client 1, client 2, client 3, client 4, and so on. So there is a server, and to this server different client computers are connected. Programs reside in the server which runs on the client computers. Now the client computers have their web browser, with the help of which these programs open on the client's monitor. Okay, so applets are the small programs that run on internet. These programs can be included on the HTML document, and they need a web browser for their execution. Okay. Now, next important thing that we are going to discuss is the features of Java language. So, features of Java. The first feature is, it is an object oriented programming language. Okay, Java is an object oriented programming language. Now, to understand why Java is an object oriented programming language, we have to know what is an object, what is an object oriented programming language, and then why Java is called as an object oriented programming language. So first of all, what is an object? Now, an object is something that has a physical existence in the environment, right? So an object is something that exists in our environment physically. So it has some physical characteristics and it performs some activity or behavior. I repeat, an object is something that exists in the physical environment. So it has some physical characteristics, right? And then it performs some activities, some action, and it shows some behavior. Okay. So in this connection, so if I understand this, then anything that we see around us, like a car, a cycle, a motorcycle, music system, fridge, television, like a student, a girl, a boy, right? Each of them can be called as an object. This fan overhead, the AC, the cooler, right? Even if the pen that I am holding also can be called as an object, because it has got some physical, it has physical presence in the real world, and it has some activity and functions or behavior. Okay. Now, if this is object, then what is an object oriented programming language? An object-oriented programming language is a programming language that can represent or incorporate these physical characteristics of the object and its activities in the best possible way in the field of programming. That is called an object-oriented programming language. Now, Java is an object-oriented programming language because Java has some concepts and principles that enables it to incorporate or to include or to implement these physical characteristics and activities of the object in the best possible way in the program. That is why it is called an object-oriented programming language. Now, details of this we will be discussing when we go deeper into the subject. Okay, this is the first thing. Second feature is Second and important feature is it is both compiled and interpreted. It is both compiled and interpreted. Now to understand what is this, let us go back to our discussion, previous discussion few minutes back, what we had about this compilation and interpretation. That I had told you that, check this diagram, that when the user writes a program using any of the high level language, that is called as the source code. This source code, after either interpreted or after compiled, is converted or translated into machine code, also called as object code, and this object code can get executed on a computer. So all the high level languages that are there except Java, I repeat, except Java, all other high level languages, they are either interpreter or compiler. They make use of either interpreter or compiler to convert them from source code to object code. Okay, but Java is one such program which is both compiled and interpreted. Now in this connection, I would like to tell you the difference between this interpreter and compiler. The difference between interpreter and compiler is that interpreter translates a program written in high level language line by line into object code. Any error it finds in any line, it will display that error. You correct it, then it goes for translating the next statement. So statement by statement it translates the source code into object code till the end of the program, whereas the compiler will do it as a whole. It will compile the entire source code program into object code at one time. All the errors will be listed. The user has to go through them and correct it. Okay, so this is the difference between interpreter and compiler. Now coming back to our discussion, we have seen that other than Java, every other language, either they are interpreted or they are compiled to get converted from source code to object code, but Java is a program that is both compiled and interpreted. So first of all, let me draw the structure of the execution of the Java program. So let us imagine this is Java source code. This Java source code will get compiled. Okay, it will get compiled, and unlike other languages where after the compilation the object code is created, it is not happening here, because Java source code after compilation an intermediary code is created that is called bytecode, right? And then the Java interpreter executes this bytecode into object code. Okay, so I repeat, Java source code with the help of the Java compiler gets converted into bytecode. This bytecode gets executed by the Java interpreter, which is also called as Java Virtual Machine, JVM, and then the object code is formed. Once the object code is formed, then computer can process it. Now the question is, I understood the structure of general execution of a general program and Java program. Now once we have understood that Java is both compiled and interpreted, now the question is why? The question is because lies in the types of Java programs that can be used by using this language Java. There are two types of programs, application program and applets. Applets are the programs that run on internet. Now internet, let us come back to our previous discussion. As we were discussing, internet means we have a main computer to which the different other computers are connected. Now these other computers have their own operating system and processor. there is no guarantee that all the computers that are connected on internet, connected to internet, have the same operating system and the same processor. No, they will be having different operating system and different processor, but the program has to run on every processor by the operating system. That is why the Java source code, after the compilation, is converted into bytecode. This bytecode is an error-free code and it can work on any machine. It can, once compiled and the bytecode is formed, it can run on any machine, not only computers connected to internet but also in any other computer. Those who are not connected to internet also, it can run on any machine. That machine should have the Java interpreter, that is your JVM. So what this JVM will do, the JVM will execute this bytecode into a suitable processor dependable code, into a code that is suitable for the processor to execute. So individual processors are there, but this JVM will convert this bytecode into each individual computer's processor suitable form so that the operating system can execute it. That is why it is both compiled and interpreted. Okay. Now the third one is, it is platform. It is platform independent. Now this feature of Java is well derived from our discussion where we saw that Java program is both compiled and interpreted. Because it is both compiled and interpreted, because this bytecode is formed after the compilation, which can get executed by the Java interpreter on any machine that has the Java interpreter, irrespective of the type of operating system they have and the processor they have, the computer can work on this bytecode. But for that, the JVM has to be there. Okay, so this is how Java program is platform independent. The fourth one is, it is a case sensitive. It is a case sensitive language, right? Now, to understand what is case sensitivity, let me write a statement in basic. Since you have learned basic language in the lower class, suppose, let us see, I am writing here, let a equal to 10, let a equal to 5. Okay, now here, a is 5. Now in these two statements, this variable a, this is same variable, these twice I have written, but it is the same variable, right? For basic, there is no difference between this uppercase alphabet A and lowercase alphabet A. It understands it to be the same variable. So it understands, what does it understand is, here is a variable A. In the first statement it is storing 10, and when it comes to the second statement, this same variable A, right, is overwriting this 10 and storing 5, because these two means same for basic, but not in case of Java. If I write uppercase A and lowercase a, Java considers these two as two different things. Right? For Java, uppercase alphabet A is different and lowercase alphabet A is different because of the numeric code associated with this uppercase alphabet and the lowercase alphabet. Okay? For uppercase alphabet, the numeric code is 65. Lowercase alphabet, the numeric code is 97. It is like in your class, two students may have the same name, but their roll number is different. So the students are identified by their roll number. In the same understanding can be applicable over here. Even though these two alphabets are read as same, but Java treats them differently because of the numeric code associated with them, which was not like in the case of basic, right? So this is why Java is a case sensitive language. It differentiates between the uppercase alphabet and the lowercase alphabet. Okay. So with this I end this video. See you in the next. Thank you.